HBO has released the 4th episode of their new series Dune Prophecy, which follows Valia as she returns home to become the Harkonnens' truthsayer. And while that specific storyline was admittedly interesting, I have to admit that I found the rest of the episode to be okay, I guess. Nothing about the episode was particularly bad, but now that we're more than halfway done with the season, I was really hoping to be fully invested in all of the other characters and storylines at this point in the show. And I'm just not. I mean, I liked seeing Desmond's murder confession and how he violently immolated some more people in front of a crowd, but that's only because Desmond is the most interesting character in the show in my opinion. So it was easy for me to be invested in his storyline specifically. I even had a hard time feeling invested in Tula's storyline, and I do find Tula to be a rather interesting character. But there's just so much else going on in this series that I have yet to even talk about, and that's because it's all failed to thoroughly engage me. Which is disappointing, especially since I'm a massive fan of Villeneuve's work on the 2 Dune films. But this show doesn't seem to enhance or complement the 2 movies in any meaningful way whatsoever. And with only 2 episodes left in the season, I don't know how the overarching story is going to connect to the 2 films, or even come to a satisfying conclusion in its own right. But while I was definitely disappointed with this episode as a whole, I still don't think anything in it was inherently bad. I liked all of the performances in this episode. I liked seeing the sisters spiraling out of control due to a shared nightmare of some kind, and I liked learning more about Desmond and his unique abilities. But even Desmond's best scene reminded me of a less interesting version of the Game of Thrones episode, The Laws of Gods and Men. And it's clear that Dune Prophecy has been heavily inspired by Game of Thrones as a whole, but it definitely has not been able to live up to the same kind of heights as Game of Thrones. So I don't think that Dune Prophecy is necessarily bad, I just think that it isn't as thrilling or as captivating or as engaging as it should be. Yes, there are plenty of good concepts and characters in this show, but both of these elements have been let down by the overall execution. In other words, Dune Prophecy has yet to live up to its full potential. So, while I still want to see how this series will wrap up, I can't deny that I'm not as excited about watching the last 2 episodes as I really want to be. But I guess we'll see what'll happen on the penultimate episode of Dune Prophecy once it gets released on Sunday.